y'all? Terrell Friday here, FutureDDS.
Tyler Brown here, FutureDDS.
And today we have a very, very special topic. You know, it's the great debate between med school versus dental school. Today, you know, dentistry seems to be becoming a lot more popular. And I don't know if it's just because we're in the field or, you know, maybe it's just, you know, we see it every day and we're like tapping into Instagram influencers and people that are just like making dentistry more popular and more mainstream. But, you know, it always comes back to that natural comparison between becoming a dentist and becoming a doctor. So today we'll actually be speaking with a med school student about their experience to see exactly what, you know, the similarities and differences are between the two paths, and of course why we'll kind of discuss why we chose our individual paths. So, you know, today we'll be talking with Kadar Vinoy, who is a third-year medical student at Meharry Medical College, man. So thanks for joining us, Kadar. How you doing, man?
Man, doing well, man. Doing well. Appreciate you having me on here, man. Appreciate you.
Of course, man. Of course. So if you could, you know, again, thanks for taking some time out. I know you said you on call and, you know, you got off early, so you were able to sit down with us, which is cool. But if you could just, you know, reintroduce yourself a little bit, tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, where you went to undergrad. Of course, you know, a little bit about your journey and why you chose to go to medical school or go into the medical profession.
For sure. Like my man said, my name is Kadar Vinoy. I'm from Kennesaw, Georgia. Went to undergrad at Morehouse College.
Sure.
After finishing there, attended Meharry Medical College for med school. I mean, to kind of get started answering the question about why medicine and where that all started, I kind of have like the whole, how do I say it, like the whole like not like, you know, super special, like, oh, like I got hit by a car when I was 10 and somebody brought me back to life, like all kind of, you know, wild stuff. It wasn't really like that. It was kind of just everything I knew just based off like my personality. Since I was younger, it was kind of like I always had the need to like put someone before myself. You know, I always had that in me. Always a very like sacrificing person, wanting to like help the next person. I feel like as a physician, you kind of got to have somewhat of that type of background to want to go into this type of field. And I remember I told my mom, I was like in middle school, I was like, yo, like, I think I want to be a doctor. And she was like, oh, for real? That's great. You know, they make a lot of money. You know that, right? I was like, oh, for real? I bet. You know what I'm saying? So now I got the perk of like, you know what I'm saying, doing something I like and making money. But I feel like over time, just kind of getting exposed more to the sciences and getting the ability to like actually shadow physicians, I kind of tapped into like, wow, like this is kind of hitting me, you know, saying a little deeper, you know. I remember shadowing a few pediatricians, which is actually kind of like my field of specialty I want to go into. And I just kind of felt that, you know, I wasn't really at a job or at like a place of work. Like I was like actually enjoying myself while I was there. And, you know, it's kind of one of those kind of things that's kind of just carried on since I was about 18 all the way till now. And, you know, I've never been more clear about, you know, saying this is what, you know, saying I'm definitely trying to do for the rest of my life. So.
Man, that's what's up.
Awesome. So we want to ask you, you know, at least for dental school students, taking the DAT, like that's one of the most challenging and stressful times in this journey. And so we just kind of wanted to get your feedback about you taking the MCAT and how that was for you.
I ain't gonna lie to you, brother. I would never take that test again.
Right? Hey, man,
like, I would never, like, you can't pay me to go back and take that test again. Cause I mean, it was like, you know, I feel like as an African-American, like, I feel like sometimes we have certain obstacles in front of us. And the MCAT was one because there's a certain type of test where it's like, if you didn't grow up in this type of education system, you weren't prepared all back to take it, being a standardized test. And so that exam really put me through some loopholes. I had to take that exam, I had to take that exam 4 times before I was actually able to get into school. So as you can, you know, you can see that it's like been like a nightmare, you know what I'm saying, in my lifetime. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like one of those kind of things where it's like, you know, in order to get where you're trying to be, you're going to have to get through this fear, you know what I'm saying? You got to overcome this. And, you know, it took a lot of like, you know, time and effort put into it to get, you know, the understanding enough to actually pass the exam and, you know, do pretty decently well. So, you know, it's just one of those type of exams where it's like, you know, I feel like everyone has that time, that moment where like it finally clicks for you. You know what I'm saying? Because not, as y'all know, like I feel like for y'all at DAT is not so much just about knowing information, but how to apply it the way that they want you to. And it's the same thing like that for the MCAT, where it's like eventually it just has to click, where you just kind of start picking up on things just based off like continuous practice with it and things like that. So yeah, the test is definitely and you know what I'm
They're both
saying?
hard. They're both
They're both
hard.
difficult, yeah.
It
But,
is what it is. You're right.
Yeah.
So I guess I guess to speak a little bit about that, what kind of things were you trying to do to supplement your time while you were taking MCAT?
You mean as far as like in regards to what, like supplement as far as like free time?
Were you like working and shadowing a lot during that time as well?
Oh yeah, so like when I was getting ready to, like when I was in between taking MCATs, I was actually working. I was actually working 2 jobs for 2 years. I was working in the school system for a little bit and doing a little side hustle on the side after I used to get off from the school. I used to go like Valley Park cars, you know, saying trying to make some extra bread, you know, the hustle and grind, trying to be on your own. Then year after that, I worked as a medical scribe. So I was, you know, getting myself back into the medical field, make sure I was staying intact, and was also working with my dad. He owns like he works like this healthcare company. So I was able to basically be like a technician for him and like, you know, work on these things called electrodes that basically break down kidney stones and like help work with like arthritis and all kinds of different things. So you know, during my MCAT, you know, period where I was taking the exam, I was definitely working, you know, saying multiple jobs. And, you know, I feel like that experience was good for me though. I feel like it got me ahead in life, you know what I'm saying? Because by the time I got to med school, I feel like I was like just way more mature than the average student that was coming in. I definitely feel as though that played a part in me, you know what I'm saying, being successful in medical school.
Definitely. So I guess you know, going through the application process. So after you take the MCAT, you know, you finally get the score that you're looking for, and you're applying to schools. What were some of the things that kind of stood out to you about the interview process itself? And you know, why did you eventually, you know, settle on Meharry? Was that a place that you always wanted to go to?
So I feel like I always had like an interest in Meharry just because being from Morehouse, you know, and HBCU, it's like, I mean, you can relate, you know, saying we went to the school together, like it's kind of one of those like fantasy type places where it's like you can't get this experience nowhere else. And so Meharry was definitely in the back of my mind because I knew going to an HBCU for professional school was going to be somewhat similar to that, being around other, you know, saying people that look like you, that would help motivate you and influence you just to finish this journey. And like, you know what I'm saying, even like create a sense of a network within your people, you know what I'm saying, while you're there. And so Meharry is definitely in the back of my mind, but I was thinking about some other schools too. I thought about applying to like Morehouse School of Medicine. I thought about Emory, and even had thought about UPenn at one point. But Meharry was actually a place that gave me an opportunity, because my story was kind of like, it wasn't like the whole traditional route where it's just like, you know, get out of undergrad, take the MCAT, and get right into medical school. You know, with taking it multiple times, I also had to do like another year where I was in a master's program at Meharry called MHS, where I got a master's in health science. And that kind of like was like my lead-in point into medical school. So got the master's in a year, took the MCAT, got the score I needed and got in. And so, you know, Meharry was just like, you know, it's a place of opportunity. And I was humbled to be able to, you know, get that opportunity. That's why when I'm in school now and I'm busting and grinding, it's like, yo, this is not just like just you. It's not you just here. Like, this is a blessing to be here. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody gets this opportunity. And so when my opportunity was presented to myself, I was just humbled about it, you know? So that's kind of how I got to Meharry and, you know, choosing that. But as far as like the interview process, my interview actually came while I was in the master's program. And so I guess I didn't have like the traditional, just like a medical school interview, because they basically took my interview from my master's program to determine, you know, I guess my character and my personality and stuff for medical school.
Gotcha.
But I mean, I feel like they're probably similar because they asked me questions about like, oh, you know, they do the whole, what's your strengths, what's your weaknesses? You know, they ask you about, oh, you know, why you have this grade, you know, why you got a, why you take the MCAT this many times. They ask about, the random questions. If you was a fruit, what fruit would you be? They ask those kind of questions. Yeah, they like to do that kind of stuff, trying to play with your mind and stuff. So, but the interview process was pretty chill though. I didn't feel like they was like grilling me in my interview. I feel like they was just kind of trying to get an understanding of, my journey into medical school and trying to really get to know me as a person.
Right.
Okay, cool. And so we know that like one of the main differences between dental school and medical school is the structure of it, So our first 2 years are more didactic, whereas we're in class all day. And then the second 2 years is more clinical experiences. And so we kind of wanted to ask, how is it in medical school? Like, I don't know, do y'all even have clinical experiences within those 4 years, or do you have to wait till afterwards?
Yeah, so it's interesting you asked that because I feel like each medical school is different. I know Meharry right now is going through a change. So when I started my first 2 years, it was basically straight books, classroom. And then third years, we started really getting into the hospital and rotating through your rotations, different specialties. And you also do that during your fourth year. Now at Meharry, they're trying to integrate the students a little bit quicker into the hospital.
Okay.
Like they're about to have, the second year is about to start with us next month.
Oh, wow.
And so, I had to wait until starting my junior year versus they're starting like a few months, before their junior year to actually get into the hospital and stuff. So, the culture is kind of changing as far as for med schools because I think they just want us to have more clinical experience earlier, because it kind of helps you when it's time to transition into the next stage after medical school, which is residency. Right. And so they're kind of just trying to get us more prepared and help us to, to see more things and stuff. But my journey was definitely books, first 2 years, classroom, and now as a third year, I'm doing the hospital clinic stuff.
Okay. I was going to say it's interesting that, you go to school, we're at a school that also has a dental school. Do you guys take classes together your first 2 years? Like the dental students and the med students?
Yeah, we do. So we took, what class did we take together? We took anatomy together.
Okay.
And so the dental students, we used to have class together. We also had like an anatomy lab. Did y'all have like an anatomy lab?
Yep.
Yeah. So like we used to have like an anatomy lab where we used to all go down there and cut on the bodies and dissect and all that kind of stuff. But the difference between us was that the dental students didn't have to go as far down. Like I think they stopped like at the thorax. I don't know what y'all did, but they stopped at like the thorax, and they would just basically do like a second run of like head and neck for anatomy. But we did take that class together. But I think that was the only class that we had together with them. And that was only during first semester or first year. After that, we didn't have any classes together.
And so one more quick question. So we have like in our clinical experience, our patients are our patients, they're calling us and we see them routinely. Is it the same thing, or are you all just shadowing throughout the hospital?
So we don't have our own patients. We basically work under particular teams in the hospital. So for example, if you're in pediatrics, you're going to join a certain team that's going to have an attendee, a resident, and an intern, and basically you work with their patients. So they're not yours, they're theirs. And the reason why that is because it would be a really big liability if we just had our own patients and, I don't know, try to prescribe a drug we shouldn't be prescribing or stuff like that. So they kind of give you someone to guide you and to basically hey, you can go and talk to the patient and stuff, but there's still a limitation with how much we can actually do.
Okay.
So yeah, we don't actually get patients. Patients don't call us. They really be like y'all be at home and they'll call y'all for an appointment and things like that.
Yeah.
Oh wow, nah, we don't.
My count just fell out.
All the time.
I'm feeling some pain here.
That's wild. Nah, once I leave the hospital, that's it. Yeah, they're not calling me. Nah.
Yeah, we got to call patients after. It's schedule your appointments, everything. So we get a roster of patients. At the beginning of our third year, we start to pick up patients from, fourth years leaving. They might hand patients down, and we start doing new patient exams, and we start building our roster up, and then we're basically the primary provider for these patients. Obviously, we have what we call PCs in our clinic, They
Yeah.
kind of govern over our treatment plans, and like, they give us start procedures, make sure we
Mm-hmm.
got to like prescribe medicine, stuff like that. We got to do med consults, little things like that, to like a system
Yeah.
of checks and balances, and talking to specialists when we're doing certain procedures and all. But
Yeah.
for the most part, we're the primary point person and primary care provider for all our patients that we have.
Wow. That's interesting. I feel like y'all are just gonna be, I feel like because of that type of system, y'all are probably way more prepared right when y'all leave,
Oh,
because y'all just used to that type of lifestyle already.
yeah.
You
We
know?
can really set up office or set up shop right when we graduate.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all
It
already
might
got
not be
your
the smartest
patient.
thing to do, but we can
Yeah.
if we wanted to.
Yeah, just to kind of like speak on that, when we do finish our 4 years, we can, leave. We have a DMD or a DDS degree, and we're
Mhm.
allowed to, go set up shop, or, apply to a general practice residency or
Mhm.
AEGD, or, specialty, or whatever we want to do. I guess, what is the system like once you get to that point in your medical school journey? Like, once you get to fourth year, you finished everything, all you need, I guess, your boards that you have to pass and everything.
Mhm.
What is the journey like after that? Like, how do you guys do residencies? Like, is there any way that you can go and just, I mean, obviously, maybe not open up a practice, but can you go outside of doing a residency to practice? Maybe like a hospital. Like, I'm not sure exactly how that goes. How?
Yeah. So the process after you kind of finish your boards and basically taking your tests and all the things you got to do, we basically go back through another application cycle for residency, which I'm pretty sure y'all have, like for residency, y'all have like some type of application process.
Yep, yep.
And you apply, you do the same thing as you did for medical school, personal statement, letters, what you do in medical school, activities, all that kind of stuff, research. And then you go on interviews. And after you go on interviews, we actually rank the programs from like 1 being like, I really want to go here, to like 20 is like, if I don't go, it's like, it's okay. And the program ranks us. So how it works is that you have to match up with them. So like if I'm ranking like Emory in Atlanta #1, but they ranking me #5, I might not go there. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of got to be like, from both sides. And then once you match, that's when you know where you're going to residency. Now, can you not go to residency in practice? That's something that's very uncommon. Most people that don't match actually end up doing something else. Like they might do like a research year or something abroad just to make themselves more appealing, because they're going to have to go back through the match process again, because residency is like really where you learn how to be that specific doctor that you want to be. In med school is like the holistic, like, everything about a doctor, versus like residency is like, for a pediatrician, you're learning how to take care of kids, saying as an OB-GYN, you're learning how to, deliver babies, and, examine only women. You're not worried about nothing else. So there's a whole different special training to help you be that particular doctor. And most places won't hire people who haven't been to residency. Like it's very, very uncommon. Unless you about to just, I don't know, unless you about to just go work for your family's practice, maybe you might get lucky like that. But most times you can't get a job unless you go on the residency.
Right.
So that's why it's very important for us to handle our boards and like get the best score you can, so you make sure that you match that first time. Because with being in med school, being there for 4 years, being that much stress, you're not trying to do nothing else once you do those 4 years.
That's real. That's real. That's so interesting. Just because, like, on this side, being able to just go into practice and being a general practitioner, where you can really, literally, like, do anything.
Yeah.
Is, I guess it kind of makes sense, because, in a sense, from a medical standpoint, it kind of seems as dentistry as like a specialist, or a specialist of of medicine.
Yeah.
Whereas though within dentistry we see other subspecialties or our specialties as like going into doing something more specific. So it's just kind of interesting seeing that dichotomy that they have there.
Right. And y'all are really practicing y'all craft during y'all 3rd and 4th years, right? Like,
That
because
is
for us, we're not really ready to take care of patients on our own when we graduate. We're not ready. Even like, when you start residency as a first year, you still aren't ready to be, you're just not ready to be on your own, because there's still so much more that they want us to know.
Gotcha.
And they get even more in depth as far as like, dosing for medications or like knowing like, you know, what specific lab to order, like, you know, it all differs and stuff like that, you know. So we're just not ready after medical school to go and just be like taking care of people,
Right.
which is why they, you know, give us the residency program. So yeah, and that's interesting because y'all can go after and like make a whole career right after you finish. Like y'all can go out and make 6 figures, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, like
man.
and you know what I'm saying, that's something that's like, man, that's so cool because like for us, like I'm about to go residency and be making like $45,000 after taxes, like, you know what I'm saying, and still have to be in training for, you know, making that much money for like 3 more years before I start seeing the big bucks.
Okay, and that's for pediatrics.
That's for, so yeah, pediatrics is 3 years, but for any specialty, like they normally don't give any of their residents no more than like $50,000, $55,000, you know. So we're still kind of like, we're kind of still sacrificing the lifestyle that we want to have because we got to go through a whole nother set of years of training, you know.
And for the residencies, about, I guess, what's the range about for medical residencies?
They range between, I say 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Certain specialties like pediatrics and I believe family and internal medicine are 3 years. Surgery's a little longer, like 4. And some of the other specialties like neurosurgery and stuff like that isn't even a longer period of time. But usually it's between that 3 to 5 year range.
Okay. Right, cool. Well, yeah, definitely. We don't want to hold you up too much longer, Kadar, man. We definitely want to say thank you again for joining us and, you know, having this conversation with us and giving us that perspective. Definitely. You know, it definitely shed some light on, you know, medical school and, you know, the comparison to what we're going through on this side in dental school. But if you haven't, you know, do you have any, like, I guess, last words of wisdom for anybody who might be interested in med school, or, you know, anybody who might be watching this video trying to decide between medical or dental school? You know, I guess any words?
Yeah, I guess I kind of would just, you know, if I was going to give any advice, it would just be to really try to get some type of experience shadowing both fields because, you know, we're both like, you know, saying in healthcare, you know, saying it's just different aspects of healthcare. And so I feel as though you have to kind of see what is more, I guess, meaningful to you. Like, are you more like, I want to deal with the whole body versus like a particular, you know what I'm saying, particular, I guess, like area of the body where it's like, I really like the mouth and I really like, you know, this head and neck versus like, I want to take care of everything, or like seeing particular like diseases or whatever the case may be. So I definitely recommend that people definitely shadow both fields and, you know, kind of just really like, I guess analyze like, you know, your time frame in life. Like, you know, I feel like some students that choose to go medical versus dental is literally based off where they are in life. Like versus you're 35 versus you're 23. Like someone who's 35 might prefer, you know what, I can still go into healthcare and be on the dental side. I can get out and make money. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I'm already in that time of my life versus someone who's younger. It's like, you know, I can still go and training for 7 years or whatever and still, you know, be in that early 30 range or whatever. So, you know, just kind of, I feel like just, you know, just know what you want to do for sure. Like, don't, you know, start medical school and then want to switch over to dental or, you know what I'm saying? Then you're wasting time, you're wasting money, you know what I'm saying? So definitely just, you know, really know what you want to do and, you know, make sure it's coming from here for sure. Cause that's the only way you're going to make it. If it ain't coming from here, you're not going to make it. No, seriously, you're not. You're not. I'm sure y'all got, you know, classmates that might have dropped from dental school. I've got classmates who dropped from med school that were in my class, you know. And, you know, I feel as though those that dropped just didn't really either know why they wanted to do it or, you know, like I said, like it just wasn't there from the start. So
it's not for everybody.
It isn't.
It's not. I think that us as professionals are definitely a different breed of people. You know, saying a different level of discipline, you know, different level of like understanding responsibilities, understanding how to manage time, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we're definitely like an elite group of individuals for sure from both sides.
Man, without a doubt, without a doubt. You got anything you want to?
Well, no. So I wanted to ask you. I mean, if our audience has any questions, is there any way they can reach out and contact you?
Yeah, for sure. They can hit me on my IG handle at Kadar_Vanoy, which is KADAR_VANNOY. Happy to answer any questions or anything just to help, anyone who needs, any type of advice.
Man, awesome. Well, appreciate that, man. As you guys saw, you heard his journey. It's no easier on the other side in medicine either. It's a grind, and make sure you're dedicated and you're committed to the journey, because it's a long journey no matter which way you go. So, but of course we're both in it because we understand that the other side is going to be that much, it's going to be that much more worth it when we get there. The impact that we'll be able to have as healthcare providers in whichever realm that we decide to go into. It's going to be well worth it. So again, one more time, thank you, Kadar, for taking some time out.
Appreciate y'all, brothers, man. Appreciate y'all, man. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, all you guys out there, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell so whenever we post up new content. And follow us on Instagram _FutureDDS. Send us a DM if you have any questions, or add it down to the comments below. That's going to be it. Thank you, guys.
All right, y'all. Thanks, bro.
Appreciate y'all.